Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Coach Matt over here, Primal Athlete Training Center, www.primalatc.com. I am soaked, just got finished working out here Friday night, but I wanted to answer before I go home and eat. I actually have my 15-year high school reunion tonight. I'm getting old, feeling old. And before I head out and go get showered and cleaned up for that, I wanted to answer a question for a guy who I've known for a little while through Facebook. He sends me emails from time to time. Some of his athletes have come and worked at some of the camps that I've done. His name is Keith Woods, and he's from Hickory High School in Pennsylvania. And basically, Keith is the prime example of what a throws coach should be. Keith knows his stuff. He has had some very successful athletes come out of his school. He's had athletes go on to get college scholarships to win big championships from his school. He gets it. He knows what he's doing. He's always learning. And that's what I want to kind of put out there to a bunch of other coaches that might be watching, is that when you've been in the game for, 2-3 years, that doesn't mean you've learned everything that you need to know. When you've been in the game 15, 20 years, that doesn't mean you know everything that you need to know. You always have to keep learning. Always continue to learn. Always continue to get more information about your sport and improve. Pass that along to your athletes and you will do better. Keith has about 55 throwers. Now, that's a pretty big throwing squad. He's got guys and girls. To give you a little of an idea, Keith trains using the West Side template, the Conjugate Method, which is a 4-day-a-week lifting split. Basically, you have your combination, not to get too far into it, but you've got your combination of your maximum effort days where you're lifting heavy weight for sets of 1. You have your speed day, your dynamic effort day, which is where you're lifting about 50 to 60% of your perceived max as quickly as you possibly can. And then you have your repetition effort, your bodybuilding type days. So the Conjugate Method just kind of puts all that together, puts it in sequence so that you're never hitting a plateau. It's pretty strenuous on the body. And Keith is pretty much wondering my ideas on core twisting movements. I'm sweating all over myself here, that's gross. But he's wondering about core twisting movements. He's wondering, what do I suggest? When do I put them in? What are some of my favorite exercises? What do I think of doing them? What do I think of other sports-specific exercises? And things like that. Well, knowing what I know, always learning, having spent a couple days with Louis Simmons out there at Westside, having kind of done this and done the Conjugate Method before, and even using it for the most part, sort of a version of it, a 2-day-a-week split for some of my athletes here in the gym. The Conjugate Method and Louis Simmons preach having a strong core, standing ab movements, standing core strengthening movements, things like glute ham raise, things like reverse hyperextensions. God, I'm blanking out here. Things to keep the core and the lower back extremely strong. So if you're doing the Conjugate Method, the West Side style of training, that should already be part of what you do in the weight room, in a place like this where you're lifting weights. Out on the field, you should be doing your sport-specific movements. That is your actual throwing mechanics. Those are your drills. Overweight shot puts, underweight shot puts. That's about as sport-specific as you can get for the throwing events in track and field. What I think you're looking for is what I like to call the other stuff. Now, what's the other stuff? Well, if it can't be done in the circle, if it's not an overweight or underweight implement, or if it's not a drill to teach the actual event, and, so that's sort of on one side, and it's not here in the weight room lifting heavy weight and building strength with your compound movements in your West Side template, it's all this stuff in the middle. And that stuff in the middle is things like medicine balls, sprinting, strongman type training, farmer's walks, pushing, pulling sleds, flipping tires, box jumps, hurdle hops, running up and down the bleachers, agility, balance, coordination drills, just fun kind of challenge stuff, walking on your hands and wheelbarrow races and stuff like that with your team. That's what I consider the other stuff that's very important, but a lot of times gets overlooked. And this is where I would put all of my rotational core twisting type movements. Some of my favorites, use medicine balls. So what I like to do, back up a little bit here, hopefully you can see me. I like to rotation and throw medicine balls. So I like to grab a heavy medicine ball, guys. Now when we say heavy med ball, I'm not talking like a 2 kilo, 3 kilo ball. I'm talking like a 15 to 20 pound medicine ball, a big, heavy, like a 7 kilo all the way up to like a 9 or a 10 kilo, a 20 pound, 22 pound medicine ball. And I like to, with a partner, take that ball with long arms, and I like to turn and actually throw it straight to my partner. So I'm twisting perfectly at the waist. I'm not going up or down, twisting and throwing it to a partner. And I like to do about 10 on each side, just alternating left and right. I also like to do over the shoulder throws where the med ball's in your hand. You're going to dip down to one side of your body and then throw and extend up and release over the shoulder. Do about 10 on one side, down, up, and throw over the other side. 10 on one side, 10 on the other. I also like to do overhead throws where you're throwing over your head backwards as far as possible, and then like a soccer pass over your head forward as far as possible. Other things that I like to do for the core, for the rotational work, are a little bit more sport specific, throwing specific if you want to call it that. We've done it before. Take the med ball, put it on your hip, get in power position, and then throw using your hip. Push that med ball toward a partner. Do 10 on one side, boom, 10 on the other side. Push the ball to your partner. I like to do rotational slams. Taking the med ball, making a big windmill, and boom, slamming it down. Other side, big windmill, and boom, slam it down. So you're slamming from side to side, doing almost like a wood chop fashion, wood chop type movement. So there's a lot of things that you can do as far as rotational core twisting movements. Those are some of my favorites. There are a lot of them out there. The thing that you want to remember, and I think the reason why you're really asking, Keith, is because it sounds like you have a big team. So for the most part, I bet you have a bunch of people in the weight room, a bunch of people in the circle, and you've got some people that are just kind of hanging around, not doing anything or waiting for their turn in the circle, waiting to go to the weight room. This is what they should be doing if they're waiting. So make it easier on yourself. Split your team up into 3 different fractions and say, okay, you guys and girls are in the weight room. You guys and girls are doing the middle stuff that we just talked about. You guys and girls are over here doing your throws. And then maybe every half an hour, every 45 minutes, rotate. Okay, that way it makes it a little bit easier on yourself. The kids know what they need to do that day, and they're able to get a more efficient practice in, and you're not there hanging around 3 or 4 hours a day at night. All right, so I think that might be why you're asking. Again, you're a hell of a coach. I've always respected what you've done. I love the videos that you put on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you so much for the question. If any other coaches out there have a question, best thing you can do is email me, matt@primalatc.com. We'll get it answered for you right here on video. Talk to you soon.